Hi and Namaste. Welcome to sarkaritel.com and diplomacyindia.com for a very special program called Envoy. I'm your host Amay Sati. Relationship between India and Kazakhstan are ancient and historical to more than 2000 years. India was the first country to recognize the independence of Kazakhstan. The diplomatic relations were established in February 1992. The Embassy of India was opened in Almaty in May 1992 and the Embassy of Kazakhstan in New Delhi in 1993. To give more insights into India-Kazakh relations, today we have a very special guest. It gives me immense pleasure and privilege to have His Excellency Mr. Yerlan Alimbayev, Ambassador of Kazakhstan to India. Before we start, here is a brief profile of Ambassador Yerlan Alimbayev. He is a graduate of Oriental Studies of Al-Farabi Kazakh State University and also holds master's degree from Geneva Institute of Diplomacy and International Relations. He has held diplomatic posts at the Embassy of Kazakhstan in India and Korea, as well as a permanent mission of the Republic of Kazakhstan to the UN and other international organizations in Geneva and Switzerland. His appointment as the ambassador of Kazakhstan to India, he was ambassador at large of the Foreign Ministry, national coordinator of Kazakhstan on Shanghai Cooperation Organization affairs. So welcome Ambassador Yerlan Alimbayev to this very special broadcast.
Thank you, Ami. Namaste.
Namaste. I'll start with my first question. Against the backdrop of century-old historical ties, how do you look at current state of relations between India and Kazakhstan?
Thank you, Amir, for this question. Of course, you rightly mentioned that our relations go back to the ancient times, more than 2000 years. And the modern relations started when our president visited India and as the first country to visit as the president of newly independent country back in February 1992. It's very interesting and fact. In addition to that, that India was the first country to declare that announce the diplomatic relations with Kazakhstan, and India was the first country our president then Nursultan Nazarbayev visited as a foreign country. So on February 22 we celebrated the 28th years anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. So although, as I mentioned, our relations, our ties go deep into past. Today we can say, and with satisfaction, that over these 28 years, Kazakh-Indian cooperation has been developing very dynamically in all areas. And all main areas of cooperation, it's namely it's political, economic, and cultural. Of course, we also extended our relations beyond these three major parts of cooperation. Again, I would like to emphasize that India was the first country they officially visited by the first president of Kazakhstan. And in 2009, again, our first president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, visited India, and the strategic partnership was declared and established that time. So with the continued visit of the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in 2015 and in 2017. It strengthened these kind of relations with this kind of highest level visits, strengthened the partnership between the countries, and it became the turning point, especially these last three visits. They became the turning point in, in our relations, and I think that we can say it's we now in kind of time of the relations between two countries. So in my opinion, our common historical ties are being transformed today into something new, into a new multifaceted reality. Most importantly, the leaders of our states meet each other very regularly, and they are behind these efforts to strengthen the bilateral relations. You asked me about that because I was talking about the trade and economic of Kazakhstan is the most important and the biggest partner of India in Central Asia region. For example, just to mention, we have for 2019, trade turnover was almost $2 billion, 1.9, and only for these 5 months of this year only, we had this amount reached the 1.6 billion US dollars. You can see the dynamics, and it's increasing, and we still have big room for that. And the main priority areas I mentioned before, it's energy cooperation and the IT and military technical cooperation, banking. And now we are working, and we are very successfully coming to the end. And this pipeline we have in the pipeline, we have projects in mining, and in food processing and agriculture. So these three main areas, sectors, now we are working. And of course, we'll be continuously working on the other sectors like pharmaceuticals. For example, we have more than 1,000 the Indian pharmaceutical products in Kazakhstan. And we have very successful working already. They presented Indian companies like Dr. Reddy in Kazakhstan, and Kusum is there, and many others. And now we already have, as I already mentioned, more than 400 Indian companies working in Kazakhstan. And the biggest part of that is that Punjab National Bank is presented, and the biggest shareholder of the Kazakhstan bank, Tengri Bank in Almaty. And
I was talking
I can say
agency.
Sorry?
Talking about the agency who helps you in assisting in Kazakhstan. So if you could focus more on that.
Okay. So since May last year, we have our the investment structure, investment agency here, Kazakh Invest.
Okay.
It's based in New Delhi. We can say that it's one window, the opportunity, investment opportunity agency, and they starting from the very beginning and to the commissioning of the projects, they follow, and they accompany the investors, and it's a very success story and a very successful agency in terms of the investors to start the business, to explore the opportunities in Kazakhstan. And here we have for the last 10 months, for example, we have 3 to 5 new projects just coming, and hopefully we'll be having more of them. And of course, vice versa, we have some Kazakh companies interested in investing to Indian economy. And we have 3 companies working in India, in various parts of India. So, and we have our citizens, also Kazakh citizens, working for international companies in India, based in India, with headquarters, for example, in Hyderabad, in Noida, and in Mumbai. And it's a good sample of that deep and advanced and wide broadened the cooperation between two countries.
That brings me to a supplementary question. Like, if you see in India, small and medium enterprises, they are given a lot of importance. So, do you see a role of small and medium enterprises playing a role in Kazakhstan also? Like when it comes to setting up some industries, is your state agency very encouraging to invite them to Kazakhstan?
So, as I mentioned, the priority areas for small and medium entrepreneurs will be such an areas as mining, chemistry, agriculture, and the food processing, textile. So we are most the Indian partners and companies are most welcome to come and to invest into these areas. And Kazakh companies are looking for the strategic partners in these areas, industries, where Indian business, has strong advantages and take top positions on the global level. So I'm sure that the Kazakh Invest and the Indian partners can do something and cooperate together to have these niche projects, some special projects in these areas I already mentioned. So the Kazakh Invest is the main company, main agency here based in New Delhi, as I mentioned before. So yes, the most part of these the Indian entities presented in Kazakhstan are the from the small and medium sector, and Indian investments to Kazakh economy for the last 10 years, they amount to almost 340 million US dollars.
Okay.
And but it's again, it's less than 1% of whole the PDI came to Kazakhstan for these years. So there is a huge potential to enhance investment cooperation, and the most the potential and the priority areas are such for small and the medium entrepreneurship will be the mining, chemistry, petrochemistry, and agriculture, and the food processing, textile. So Kazakh companies are looking for strategic partners from India, so to in these areas, in these industries. So because the Indian companies in these sectors are very have big advantages and take top positions on the global level. So as I mentioned before, our Kazakh Invest agency based in India, in New Delhi, is ready and will help the Indian partners, Indian business, small and medium entrepreneurs wishing to invest and to explore the possibilities, opportunities to invest to Kazakhstan.
That brings me to a supplementary question. Like, do you have a financing agency? If you have a foreign partner who are ready to work with the Kazakh companies, you can even provide them financial assistance.
You mean for Indian companies coming
Yeah.
to invest
Yes.
to Kazakhstan?
Yes.
Yes, we have like joint ventures with Indian companies. We have plenty of them, and one more issue, one more thing I wish to mention that we have a good institution of honorary consuls in India.
Okay.
So, for example, we have five honorary consuls in 17 states. So they cover 17 states in, for example, it's Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, Chennai, and Hyderabad. And their contribution to boosting bilateral trade and investment ties, as well as introducing Kazakhstan and to India and India to Kazakh people are, it's invaluable. And they, of course, they have partners in Kazakhstan, and they are Of course, as per their agreement, they can do their business, and it's just a commercial part of their agreements. So I think that every conditions are being negotiated, and that financially we have banks. I already mentioned these Punjab National Bank working with Tengri Bank. They have the 41.64% of their shares. And of course, we have many other institutions, the financial institutions, financial companies, and the banks working both in Kazakhstan and India. And they are ready to financially support the Indian companies, investors in their endeavors and in their projects.
Yes.
So Kazakhstan now counts among the top 25 countries in the prestigious World Bank's Doing Business Index. So I can say that investors' rights are given utmost priority and protection at the highest level in Kazakhstan. And during the years of independence, the inflow of foreign direct investments into Kazakhstan amounted to almost 350 billion US dollars. And the India's part is around 340 million US dollars. So actually, going back to the priority sectors for doing business between Kazakhstan and India, I can say that Kazakhstan is ready to cover the need of India in such areas of the economy as metallurgy and food, chemical and engineering industries in the amount of more than 300 million US dollars. So I now would like to elaborate on the main points. Indian government, for example, aims for 30% of its public transport to be electric by 2030. So rare metals like lithium, cobalt, nickel are critical to build batteries for electric vehicles. So India's import of lithium batteries tripled to 1.2 billion US dollars in fiscal year 2019. It was 384 million in 2017. So these metals can be imported from Kazakhstan actually, and India is currently operating under the national steel policy, and India's policy is to increase the steel production to 300 million tons by 2030 again. So the country will require 180 million tons of coking coal by 2030. So it's also expected to spend 3.4 crore rupees annually to import steel components. So, and Kazakhstan has the opportunity to supply these products to India. Moreover, we invite Indian companies to develop these products and to set up manufacturing units in Kazakhstan and supply and export them to India and, of course, to the neighboring countries, huge markets like China and Russia and all Central Asian countries. Kazakhstan offers one of the lowest energy costs. It's just 3 to US cents and rich mineral resources, what can turn the investments of Indian businessmen in metallurgy industry into the strong advantage on the global market, actually. Speaking about chemistry, India's import of caustic soda, for example, increased 3 times from 130,000 tons in 2010 to 400,000 in last year. So the cost of this import, for example, increased 5 times from 450 million US dollars to 2 billion US dollars approximately. So a chemical industry has also big potential to develop a trade cooperation between Kazakhstan and India. Speaking about agriculture and food processing, India is the world's leading vegetable oil buyer. So buyer of vegetable oil. So sunflower oil is imported mostly from the Ukraine and Russia. And so we can also set up the cooperation, and Indian investors are most welcome to come and set up the manufacturing units to produce the oil and supply it to bring it to India. Indian companies can, as I said, set up the plant in Kazakhstan in the most part of the south and southeast of Kazakhstan, and supply vegetable oil to India.
That's quite interesting. You really gave insights of, how could the trade ties can really go up to the next level. So, Ambassador, my next question is, there is a tremendous scope for boosting tourism between India and Kazakhstan and vice versa. Are the two sides taking any steps in this direction? And what's the kind of visa policy you have for India?
Thank you very much. So Kazakhstan has a lot of to offer for tourists from India, being the largest country in the region, and the 9th biggest country in the world. The Kazakhstan, it makes our position like very diverse. And Kazakhstan inherited the culture of the ancient Silk Road, and this mixture of cultures makes it different from any other country and in the region, and we can say in the world. So furthermore, people of our country are one of the most important aspects that makes this country so diverse. So we have more than 130 nationalities which merged to create such a unique culture in our country. So variations in culture, history, nature, and the climate attract the travelers from all over the world. Kazakhstan has vast steppes, high mountains, wild nature, historical buildings, and very fascinating views of its new capital and Nur-Sultan. These are all topped with such experiences as wild tourism, the skiing in mountain resorts, trekking or horse riding in mountains, and we can say the enjoying sunset in the most beautiful locations, and of course trying the traditional meal and food and etc. I would also like to mention that Kazakhstan, as a country in Central Asia, has become more accessible in recent years. As I mentioned, the air by air route, and it takes by air route, it's less than 3 hours from New Delhi to Almaty, and we have also a very easy visa regulation for Indian citizens. Before the lockdown due to coronavirus began, we had 14 flights a week. So every day we 2 flights operated by Air Astana, and we introduced e-visa for Indian tourists, and we also had transit visa for the Indian tourists going to third country for 72 hours. So for example, any Indian citizen can come their travel trip to further country like US, Europe, or other Central Asia or Russia. So we have also good transport access to all our neighboring countries. Of course, the situation with the coronavirus has made it quite challenging, and its own adjustments there. So before the pandemic, our cooperation in the field of tourism developed by leaps and bounds. So as I told, we have established the e-visa and 72-hour transit visa-free regime. So we also planning some direct flights between Mumbai and Almaty. Once the situation with coronavirus gets better, I think that all these developments will be back on the place. So Indian visa also, I think, is also quite liberal for Kazakh citizens. It requires minimum of documentation. So Kazakh tourists are very interested in India's history and culture. And as I mentioned, we have some already good attractions in Kazakhstan. We can say like Aktau in Mangistau in west of Kazakhstan, and Alakol near Almaty, and Alatau Mountains in Almaty region, and Nur-Sultan and Burabay Lake in north part of Kazakhstan, and the Tarbagatay and the Katon-Karagay in East Kazakhstan. And in Kızılorda, we have this satellite launch site, Baikonur. It's South Kazakhstan. We have Turkestan, Shymkent, with fascinating views of mountains and lakes. And it's in winter time, you have great sun, snow, and these good, for example, attractions in North and East Kazakhstan. So to experience these winter sports as well, like skiing and skating. And Kazakhstan, Almaty has this very highest skating ring in the world, in Medeo. So the Indian tourists are most welcome to visit these attractions. And as I already mentioned, we have we are connected with other part of the world. So en route to Europe or US, the Indian tourists can stop and spend 3 days in Kazakhstan and enjoy all the Kazakh hospitality.
As you said, Air Astana is flying to India for a long time. But do you see Indian carriers also coming to Kazakhstan? Because this has been a long-standing demand.
Yes, we are, before the lockdown began, we are in the stage to negotiate, to started negotiations with Indigo and SpiceJet. They are now, we have not that regular, but we have some flights by SpiceJet and from Delhi. And as I mentioned, we are planning to have Mumbai, Almaty flights by Air Astana, and SpiceJet also is very interested. So I hope that once after this pandemic, we'll come back to negotiations, and we'll be able to have more Indian air carriers to develop these air flights.
So now I come to my next question. Given a shared framework of close strategic partnership and membership of multilateral bodies like SCO, do you look at further strengthening the relationship?
Yes. political contacts between India and Kazakhstan were established during the visit of our first president, I mentioned, back in February 2. So it should be noted again that that visit was the first foreign visit of us. So now we had total 4 visits of our president to India and 4 visits of Prime Minister of India to Kazakhstan officially. And of course, we had every year regular meetings between the leaders of states on many platforms. And the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia are the most the important parts, the platforms for that. And so now we can say that this cooperation is rapidly developing with an emphasis on economic diplomacy, trade and investment cooperation. So the countries also keep close interaction within these the multinational platforms, structures such as the United Nations, and I mentioned the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And the interesting fact is that India has become the full-fledged member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization at the Astana Summit in 2017. And the Conference on Interaction and the Confidence Building Measures in Asia is the organization which is fully backed, supported strongly by India since its beginning, back in 1992. So it comes again to the bilateral cooperation when the first summit of SICA, Confederation on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures Summit, was held in Almaty that time in 2002. Then Prime Minister of India, Mr. Vajpayee, visited it. And another platform is the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, initiated by first President of Kazakhstan as well. So as a result of this, all of this interaction and visits, bilateral relations between our countries reached a new level, as I mentioned before, the strategic level. It also contributed to the intensification of bilateral trade and economic cooperation as well. So we have the deep, highest level of mutual trust between our leaders and the states as well. Of course, the official visits are the important part of the strategic partnership for cooperation in various spheres and areas. So of course, due to COVID-19, the situation, we had to postpone some high-level visits between our countries. So we are expecting the visit of the Speaker of Lok Sabha, Mr. Om Birlaji, to Kazakhstan in June, and hopefully it will happen in coming days, months. I mean, we expect also our Prime Minister to come to attend the SCO Prime Minister's meeting. It's the first time India will be hosting the SCO high-level meeting actually in India in November, 30th November. So our Prime Minister will be attending that meeting, and I think that India's participation, India's membership, the turning point. It's kind of important what happened to SCO in the last 3 years, because India can and should bring new areas for cooperation for this structure. So its experience and its background in many areas such as IT, pharmaceuticals, and cultural cooperation, and boosting the people-to-people contacts, and the security area, as well as the food security. And these are the smallest parts I mentioned the India can bring to boost the cooperation within the SCO members. And we are already working with our Indian partners to have this special working group on startups. So just recently, India hosted the first webinar working group meeting. And in October, India will be hosting the big conference, virtual conference on startups. So India's it's just been 3 years now, and I hope that India will be using its full potential to again to strengthen the cooperation within this organization. And the Shanghai Cooperation Organization itself is a leading multinational multi-organization, and in the sphere of security, trade, and economy within the region, in the region, and within the region, and the transport and logistics also can be part of the India's main areas to introduce, because the hub and the access mostly the Central Asia can get with help of India to the sea is the most important part of this cooperation actually, and we are working with our Indian partners to link the Central Asia with a route via Chabahar port to the Arabian Sea and the Gulf. So using the India's logistic and transport routes, so it will be the bright and I think the great opportunity for the Indian and the Central Asian partners as well.
Ambassador, my next question is, what has been the quantum jump of Indian tourists visiting Kazakhstan? And do you see trends from India, like quality of visitors, like they might be a family group or maybe couples or corporates who would like to come to Kazakhstan?
Yes, I mean, we, for the last few years, we witnessed a very high jump of Indian tourists visiting Kazakhstan. In 2019, more than 25,000 Indians visited Kazakhstan, and it's directly with purpose, and around 80,000 Indians visited as transit passengers. So we can say more than 1 lakh or around 120,000 Indian citizens could have chance to visit and to see Kazakh attractions. And these, of course, it could be possible because of this establishing of these some special visa regimes for Indian citizens by Kazakh authorities, as I mentioned before. And most of these tourists, they chosen the Almaty and the Nur Sultan and the south of Kazakhstan as the destination for spending their time with families as family tourism.
Okay.
So, and wedding tourism is very popular among Indians in Kazakhstan, and of course movie shootings are getting very popular in Kazakhstan. For example, last year we had the Agni Siragugal movie being shot in Kazakhstan, It's a very big movie from, if I'm not mistaken, from Tamil Nadu. It's Tamil movie. And some with, I think, the Sanjay Dutt also, the movie casting Sanjay Dutt also was one part of episode was shot in Kazakhstan as well. Last 2 years, and you can say that Kazakhstan can offer many spots for the Indian. So instead of going to, for example, to Switzerland or some the Italy, the Kazakh, the nature can also offer, Kazakhstan offer this our nature as the same conditions, but just 5 hours from here. For example, you can reach from Delhi to Almaty in 3 hours, less than 3 hours, and a 1 hour flight to any part of Kazakhstan, and you are in beautiful surroundings, and to spend your next 2-3 days or 1 week in wild and ecological, very clean surroundings. So like Nur-Sultan, Burabay, and the Alakol, and East Kazakhstan, Katong Karagay, and the Turkestan, Kızıldağ. And for example, to choose the Caspian Sea area, to just have a sea, it's just 2.5 hours from Almaty, 2.5 hours flight. So as you can see, there are huge potential. There are huge opportunities for Indian tourists to explore in Kazakhstan.
That's quite interesting, Ambassador. You really gave insights of how you could attract different categories of tourists from India.
Yeah, one of the very promising part is visit of bloggers and the youngsters, young bloggers to Kazakhstan, as we already had plenty of them. They visited, they had chance to visit, and you also had a chance to visit Almaty that time, Amir. So
Yeah.
last year also we had 2-3 bloggers, and they actually explored very greatly the opportunities for both countries. And I think that this part of our cooperation will be continuously done. And the next step is, as I mentioned in our previous the interviews, Kazakh Invest is presented in Kazakhstan, in India, and we established also 3 years back the Kazakh Tourism Agency. Is very advanced and very young structure in Kazakhstan, and I think that we will be working very closely with Indian partners. So the Kazakh tourism is very introduced to in India, and it could have a chance to arrange some kind of road show in India for Indian tourism agencies and operators, and also the Indian companies, the partners in working in the tourism sector can also be part of the projects by Kazakh tourism in Kazakhstan. For example, Kazakh tourism arranged back in 2019 very interesting road shows, some projects with participation of local domestic partners, Kazakh tourist agencies, and some European partners. So we can do the same with Indian partners.
Ambassador Yerlan, my next question will be on terrorism. It's one of the biggest threats, and how do you think India and Kazakhstan can jointly tackle this menace?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I'm confident that the modern world is fully aware of that terrorism has no border. And the threat posed by terrorism is a problem for all of humanity. And Kazakhstan and India are no exception, and our countries, like the whole world, are interested in ensuring security and tranquility, not only in the region of Central Asia and or South Asia, but throughout the world. In this regard, I would like to remind that our countries, within the framework of multi-format cooperation, already have experience of joint work under the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Even more, I would like to emphasize that Kazakhstan and India are also successfully cooperating in a bilateral format. We have joint working exercises between our competent bodies every year. So it's a kind of military operations against countering terrorism. But the regional anti-terrorist structure of Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a main platform where Kazakhstan and India are successfully working together jointly to tackle the challenge.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. My last question will be on the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, it continues to play a havoc all around the world. Every economy is getting affected globally. So, how is Kazakhstan tackling with this problem, and what's the present status now?
Unfortunately, this pandemic touched every country in the world. So Kazakhstan has also suffered the challenging situation with the spread of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and in the end of June and the beginning of July. The government had to take concrete and reactive and very quick measures to stop the spread of the coronavirus. So fortunately, the measures taken by the government had the desired effect. So within the last several weeks, there has been a significant decrease in daily coronavirus cases in Kazakhstan. So it's therefore was possible due to the measures taken by the government, and it's some caution that the situation has stabilized. It was also due to some the timely measures. So current dynamics demonstrates the sustainable progress and decrease. I mean, in terms of the new daily cases. It's clear that the trend is going in the right direction. So it's well known that conducting tests is one of the ways to combat the spread of the pandemic. Kazakhstan has made a substantial effort in this regard. So as of August 2013, the 2.2 million tests have been carried out. So in Kazakhstan, this amounts to 115,000 tests per million population, in terms of population. So this is on the same level as Canada and higher than in Germany and Switzerland and Norway and other European countries. So in addition, Kazakhstan is also developing its own vaccine with help of some foreign partners. We also are the part of this, this process. The Minister of Healthcare is actively working to product the Kazakh vaccine. It's also registered by the WHO. It already successfully passed testing, clinical test trials on animals. So we can say that now the small human trials have been also carried out. The results so far have been so promising, and there was no adverse reactions to the vaccine. The preclinical test trials will end by August 20. So far, we are as the last date. After that, the obtained data will be provided to the Ministry of Healthcare for decision to further steps. So, including expanded the human trials, and which are currently planned to start in September. So, for the Kazakh vaccines. So, till the end of the year, we plan to have these trials on human. So, of course, the situation worldwide and as well as in Kazakhstan is not that perfect as we wish. Would like to have, but it's vital not to become the complex. So, for this reason, on July 29, the president of Kazakhstan, Mr. Tokayev, ordered a 2-week extension of the lockdown till 17th of August. So, starting 17 August, some lockdown measures can be eased and lifted. However, this it will be depending on how the situation unfolds. So, starting from 17 August, we have some restrictions to be lifted on public meetings, public gatherings, and for sports and the events. And of course, public gatherings more than 5 people will be banned. And on weekends, the quarantine measures will be still be there on weekends. And as the whole world, Kazakhstan is also struggling and trying to come over this situation with pandemic COVID, and in cooperation with our partners, including India, we'll be working further. And we are very thankful to the government of India for donating the 30,000 of the HCQ back in April, when it was in very high demand in Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan is also from its side. We are also helping our neighboring countries in Central Asia and other countries to come over with during this situation. And we have sent some humanitarian aid to our neighbors. And also we are working on some more cases to continue our aid to the countries. For example, we were, despite the situation was not that good, we sent some humanitarian aid and some medical equipment to China and to Russia and to the neighboring Central Asian countries. And we are ready to continue such cooperation.
एम्बेसडर यरलैन, हमको पता है आपको हिंदी बहुत अच्छी आती है. हमारे हिंदी के ऑडियंस के लिए आप कुछ बोलोगे? आपको इंडिया कैसा लगता है? आपको लोगों के बारे में, काफ़ी लोगों से आप मिलते जुलते हैं. आपको क्या खाना पसंद है? आप बॉलीवुड मूवीज देखते हैं, कौन सी अच्छी लगती है?
हाँ जी, अमेश जी, मुझे हिंदी तो 25 साल से आता है. मैंने वैसे उर्दू में बीए किया था, उसके बाद हिंदी सीख लिया. आपको जैसे मालूम है, मैं पहले 2004 में यहाँ पे काम भी किया था. उसके बाद 15 साल 16 साल के बाद या 15 साल के बाद मैं दोबारा आ गया और थोड़ा सा हिंदी मतलब थोड़ा बदल गया है। ज़्यादा जैसे मैं पहले उर्दू में बात करते थे, जैसे आजकल तो हिंदी भी हिंदुस्तानी जैसे हम बोलते हैं, हिंदुस्तानी में इतना वो इतना समय के बाद मुझे थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है, फिर भी ये अच्छा चांस है, यहाँ पे मौका है कि मैं यहाँ आके फिर दोबारा हिंदी बोलने लगा और अपने दोस्तों से मिला है दोबारा। जो भारत में मुझे अच्छा लगता है ये इनका संस्कृति है, इनका कल्चर है। वो बचपन से हमको मालूम है, बचपन से हमको बहुत पसंदीदा है। वो इंडियन मूवीज़ भी है जो हम पुराने सालों से उनको देखते हैं। हमारे वो वालिदे भी, हमारे पेरेंट्स भी देखते थे। आजकल मैं कम देखता हूँ, लेकिन मुझे जो पुराने मूवीज़ से बहुत पसंद है, जो सब जानते हैं वो मैं क्लासिक बोल सकते हैं उसको उनको। ये जो दिलवाले दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे, वो क़यामत से क़यामत तक, जो उसके बाद क्या नाम था वो रेखा रेखा जी और वो जूही चावला, मैं तो मुझे नाम तो याद नहीं है इतना, आजकल भूल गया हूँ। और कजाकिस्तान में वो ड्रामा भी दिखाए जाते हैं, इंडियन ड्रामा कज़ाक में। और आजकल हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि कज़ाक ब्रॉडकास्टिंग एक कंपनी है और भारत एक नाम भूल गया मैं, एक कॉरपोरेशन है, डीडी दूरदर्शन उसके अंदर है। हम भी उनसे बात कर रहे हैं आजकल कि MOU साइन करें और हमारे ब्रॉडकास्टिंग इंडियन वो भारतीय मूवीज़ वहाँ पे कजाकिस्तान पे भी मतलब ओरिजिनल आ जाए। और क्योंकि आजकल मुझे लगता है कि कजाकिस्तान ज़्यादातर वो दूसरे तीसरी वो देशों से लेते हैं और अंग्रेज़ी और रशियन या रूसी वो भाषा से उनको ट्रांसलेट कर लेते हैं। अगर हम जो सबसे वो पहले और ओरिजिनल यहाँ से ले लेंगे भारत से, और हिंदी में यहाँ पे या दूसरे वो भाषा में, इंडिया में बहुत सारे भाषा हैं, और ये मुझे लगता है ये बहुत अच्छा होगा और ये हमारे रिश्ते के लिए भी बहुत अहम है। आजकल मुझे खाने में तो सब कुछ पसंद है, लेकिन थोड़ा सा वो मिर्ची ना हो। जैसे सब लोग खाते हैं वो खारी वाले खाने हम खा लेते हैं, दाल मखनी जैसे वो चिकन कारी, दाल मुर्ग मलाई टिक्का है, सब कुछ है। और मुझे वो तमिल और वो बंगाली खाने भी बहुत पसंद है, बहुत अच्छा लगा। पंजाबी खाने भी, और जो रोगन गोश्त है, वो डोसा है, नाम तो याद नहीं रखते, भूल जाते हैं, फिर भी वो सब कुछ खा लेते हैं, सब पसंद है।
आपकी तो हिंदी के हम कायल हैं, आपने तो मतलब लाजवाब इंसाइट्स दिए। अम्बेसडर एयरलाइन, आप तो मतलब हिंदी भी बहुत अच्छा बोलते हैं, आपने इतने सारे पकवानों के नाम भी हमको बता दिए, तो thank you very much. Ambassador, to end with this very interesting interview, you shared insights into, bilateral relations. You took us into the memory lane also. You gave also a lot of opportunities how the trade can be enhanced. You spoke on tourism, how to tackle terrorism, everything. So it was quite interesting, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity and sharing insights into India-Kazakh bilateral relations. Thank you very much for coming on this program. This is Amay Sathe in New Delhi signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.
बहुत बढ़िया.